The silence inside the federal courtroom shattered like glass the moment the judge slammed his gavel onto the bench. Every pair of eyes turned toward the woman standing alone before him. Her faded military field jacket hung loosely over a pair of navy blue medical scrubs, its sleeves hiding scars she had spent years trying to forget. The judge's face hardened with impatience as he ordered her to remove the jacket immediately, insisting that the court would not tolerate disrespect or theatrical displays. What no one in that room knew was that beneath that worn jacket were the burn scars she had earned while pulling wounded soldiers out of a collapsing building during a classified operation overseas. To everyone else, she looked like a disgraced nurse. To one man who had not yet entered the courtroom, she had once been known by a call sign that every Navy SEAL trusted with their lives. Within minutes, that forgotten name would stop the entire courtroom and reveal a truth that would leave even the judge speechless. Before we continue, if you believe kindness deserves to be rewarded, that people deserve second chances, and that heroes are often hidden behind ordinary faces, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who believes in hope, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps bring more inspiring stories like this to life. The woman standing before the court was Sarah Whitmore, a trauma nurse from Norfolk, Virginia. Years earlier she had been one of the most respected emergency medical specialists assigned to support elite military operations across the United States and overseas. Her calm hands had saved countless lives, but because nearly every mission had been classified, she carried no medals she could publicly display and almost no one outside the military knew her name. After leaving federal service, Sarah accepted a position at a civilian hospital in Washington, D.C., hoping to build a peaceful life far away from war. She believed the hardest days were behind her. She was wrong. Everything changed one rainy evening when a severely injured homeless veteran was rushed into the emergency room. Hospital administrators insisted that a wealthy donor's family member receive immediate attention first, despite the veteran suffering from life-threatening internal bleeding. Sarah ignored the pressure. Every lesson she had learned in combat medicine told her that seconds mattered more than social status. She treated the veteran first, saving his life, while the donor's relative waited only a few extra minutes for care. The hospital board saw the incident differently. They accused Sarah of violating administrative policy, suspended her without pay, and quietly blamed her for damaging the hospital's reputation. News outlets repeated only one side of the story, portraying her as an insubordinate employee who refused to follow orders. With her savings disappearing and legal fees mounting, Sarah found herself standing in federal court, fighting to protect both her career and her professional license. She knew that speaking about her military service could violate agreements she had signed years earlier. She carried the burden alone, refusing to expose classified operations simply to defend her own reputation. Friends drifted away. Neighbors whispered. Former co-workers avoided eye contact whenever they crossed paths with her. The woman who had once stood fearlessly beside America's finest warriors now felt invisible. That morning, she wore the old green field jacket not to make a statement but because it covered the thick scars running from her shoulders to her wrists. Those scars reminded her of a night in Syria when a medical evacuation point came under attack. She had refused to abandon wounded operators trapped inside a burning structure. Flames had wrapped around her arms as she carried one unconscious SEAL after another to safety. She never regretted those burns because every man she rescued survived. Judge Harold Benton knew none of that history. From his bench, he saw only someone refusing to remove an outer layer of clothing inside his courtroom. His repeated orders grew sharper until the room became painfully quiet. Court officers shifted uneasily. Spectators leaned forward. Sarah lowered her eyes, unable to explain the truth without reopening memories she had spent years burying. She simply stood there, trembling but refusing to argue. At that exact moment, the heavy courtroom doors opened again. An older man in a decorated Navy Admiral's dress uniform entered with measured steps. Silver hair framed a weathered face marked by decades of service. His presence immediately changed the atmosphere. Conversation stopped. Even attorneys straightened instinctively. It was Admiral Jonathan Mercer, one of the most respected Navy SEAL commanders in modern American military history. He had been summoned only as a character witness for another unrelated federal proceeding scheduled later that afternoon. He expected nothing more than a brief appearance before returning to the Pentagon. As he quietly took a seat near the back, his eyes settled on Sarah. Something about her posture seemed strangely familiar. Then he noticed the weathered medical patch still stitched inside the collar of the old jacket. His heartbeat slowed. Memories long buried came rushing back. Years earlier, during one of the most dangerous rescue operations of his career, there had been a combat medic whom everyone simply called Guardian. Nobody outside the task force ever learned the medic's real identity. Guardian had repeatedly entered active firefights without hesitation, rescuing operators who should never have survived. Whenever radio communications failed and hope seemed lost, one calm voice always answered with the same reassuring words before risking everything to reach the wounded. Only a handful of people knew Guardian's real name. Admiral Mercer looked again. The courtroom faded around him. He recognized the woman standing silently before the judge. The realization struck with overwhelming force. Sarah Whitmore was Guardian. Without thinking, the Admiral stood. Every military member in the room instinctively noticed. He slowly raised his right hand in a perfect salute. Gasps echoed across the courtroom. No one understood why one of America's highest-ranking military officers would salute an unemployed nurse accused of misconduct. Judge Benton frowned, confused by the unexpected interruption. Then Admiral Mercer calmly asked one question that changed everything. He asked whether the court knew who was truly standing before them. The room remained silent. Mercer explained that federal law prevented him from discussing classified missions, but he could confirm one undeniable fact. The woman facing judgment had voluntarily risked her life again and again to save American service members during operations whose details might never become public. Several men alive today, including himself, owed their lives directly to her courage. Her scars were not signs of weakness. They were evidence of extraordinary sacrifice. Sarah lowered her head, tears forming for the first time that day. She had never wanted recognition. She had only wanted fairness. The Admiral requested permission from the Department of Defense representative seated nearby to reveal one additional detail that had recently been declassified. Approval came after several tense minutes. Mercer revealed that during the burning compound rescue years earlier, Sarah had ignored direct evacuation orders after discovering two missing operators trapped beneath collapsed debris. She returned alone into the fire despite knowing the roof could collapse at any moment. Both operators survived because of her decision. Military investigators later concluded that her actions represented one of the bravest acts of battlefield medicine they had ever documented. The courtroom fell completely silent. Hospital executives sitting behind their attorneys stared in disbelief. The same woman they had publicly described as reckless had once been trusted with America's most elite warriors under impossible circumstances. Judge Benton slowly removed his glasses. The anger on his face disappeared. Instead, there was quiet humility. He admitted that the court had judged appearances before understanding character. While the legal dispute concerning her employment still required proper review, he apologized for demanding that she expose scars she clearly wished to keep private. It was a rare moment of public humility from a man known for strict discipline. During the following days, the truth spread far beyond that courtroom. Reporters uncovered evidence showing Sarah had followed established emergency medical ethics when treating the dying veteran first. Independent investigators found that hospital administrators had placed financial interests above medical urgency. Public opinion shifted almost overnight. The veteran whose life Sarah had saved, Michael Collins, appeared before cameras after recovering from surgery. With tears in his eyes, he explained that Sarah had never asked who he was or whether he had insurance. She simply saw a human life worth saving. Her decision had allowed him to watch his granddaughter graduate only months later. The hospital board quietly offered Sarah her position back along with financial compensation. She politely declined. Instead, she accepted an invitation from a nonprofit organization serving wounded veterans across the United States. There she trained young trauma nurses, teaching them that true medicine begins with compassion rather than paperwork. She reminded every student that uniforms, titles, wealth, and social status disappear the moment someone's heart stops beating. In those moments, only courage and kindness remain. Admiral Mercer visited her clinic every Veterans Day. Neither of them spoke much about the past. They understood each other without needing words. Sometimes gratitude lives best in silence. Years later, a bronze plaque was placed inside the Veterans Medical Center where Sarah worked. It did not mention classified missions or military honors. It simply read. She never asked who deserved saving. She simply saved them. Visitors often pause before the plaque without knowing the remarkable history behind those words. Sarah preferred it that way. Her greatest reward had never been medals or recognition. It had always been seeing another family reunited because someone they loved came home alive. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes that quiet acts of courage can change the world. Before you leave, tell us in the comments, what do you think defines a true hero, titles, medals, or the choices they make when no one is watching? Sometimes the strongest people are not those standing in the spotlight but those carrying invisible scars while continuing to serve others with compassion. Sarah Whitmore walked into that courtroom believing she had lost everything. She walked out with something far greater than victory. She walked out with her dignity restored, her truth finally seen, and a reminder to everyone who witnessed that unforgettable day that real heroes rarely announce themselves, they simply answer the call when others cannot.